Hey guys, welcome back to another video with Cody Harris Aviation. Today's going to be more of a story time than an educational lesson. Today's going to be top 10 ways to fuck up as a pilot, and in particular as a helicopter pilot, since that's what I have most experience with. Alright, number one is skipping your pre-flight inspection and not using checklists. So this one I actually have a personal story for. I think I was working on my commercial pilot's license at the time, doing some flight training down near Chandler, Arizona. It was actually my first solo night flight, and I was very nervous as such. I ended up not using the checklists, which I really should not have done, and I ended up not doing my start procedure correctly. I totally forgot to engage the mixture control, so I was essentially trying to start the helicopter without allowing any fuel into the engine. My instructor came out after I came in very distressed. I had no idea how to fix the situation. He came out and immediately saw the problem and gave me a little side eye for that situation. Number two is justifying low fuel situation. This can either be prior to starting off, as in, it'll probably be fine. We've probably got enough fuel for that situation. If you're saying probably, you probably don't actually have enough fuel. Another alternative to that is during flight, if you decide that you should probably turn back or refuel or something along those lines, but try to push a little bit further. I've been in that situation. It is very stressful. Number three, skipping the weight and balance calculation. I feel like that is probably one of the more common oversights once you're already a rated pilot. I think most pilots feel like that's more of a thing for the check ride and not something that most pilots actually use in real life, but it really should be more common. So you never really know how the helicopter is going to balance out once it's all loaded up with fuel and passengers, and I have run into some surprises with that myself. Fortunately, it has worked out more or less okay. Number four is not having personal weather minimums. The FAA sets out pretty basic weather minimums, assuming best case scenario, a highly proficient pilot, but that is not typically the case for most pilots. So therefore you should really set lower personal weather minimums than what the FAA requires of you. I have run into some very dicey situations by not having my own personal minimums and basically just giving the flight a try instead of deciding go or no go before I start the trip. Next one is number five, passengers bumping flight controls when they enter and exit the helicopter as well as in flight. The cyclic, which is controlled generally between the two front passenger seats or the two front seats, is something that's very easy to knock around, both as a pilot or as a front seat passenger. Especially passengers that are just not paying attention, they're looking outside, and they bump the cyclic, which is a very sensitive flight control and can cause quite the issue if they hit it a little too hard. Next is number six, practicing full touchdown auto rotations. Well, hopefully practicing, hopefully not real life. So a full touchdown auto rotation is essentially where you are simulating an engine failure, performing the maneuver that you would perform if you had no engine power whatsoever, and actually following this maneuver through to completion, which is ending up on the ground, hopefully safely, hopefully without crashing. However, and a bit ironically, one of the biggest causes of helicopter crashes is flight training, and one of the biggest causes of those accidents is practicing for real engine failures. And the reason that's ironic is actual engine failures are exceedingly rare. They cause far more accidents with practicing them than actually using them in real life scenarios. Alright, number seven is reading paper charts in flight. So I used to use paper charts for the majority of my flight training. Probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years back, I ended up switching over to an iPad. So moving maps, electronic flight system. I don't know how pilots manage, honestly, in the real world. Reading paper charts, it is super dangerous and super tricky trying to fly a helicopter by yourself while reading a chart. Get yourself some moving maps. Alright, number 8 is who let the dogs out. This one is not so much direct experience myself. It is more something that my initial flight instructor was talking about. He was telling me a story about how he was preparing for a flight. He started up the helicopter and somebody had left one of their dogs outside on the airport. Dog came over and tried to leap and attack the tail rotor, because apparently dogs really hate the high frequency resonance of tail rotors. And he ended up, according to his story anyway, tackling this dog to keep it from offing itself in the tail rotor. Alright, number 9 is rooftop heliports, especially in windy conditions. So I'm talking about either rooftop heliports or pinnacle approaches and departures. Both are extremely tricky in high wind situations especially. Although even in ideal conditions, they're still very tricky to get the correct approach angle and deal with updrafts and downdrafts. I think that's about it for that one. Number 10 is working as a CFI. One of the most dangerous jobs that you can have as a Navy and military pilot is working as a flight instructor, especially in helicopters. There are so many ways that your students can try to kill you. You know, I don't have enough experience, or I haven't gotten around to getting to the point in the process where I have to teach a student auto rotations, especially touchdown auto rotations. But I do not look forward to that day. I barely am confident doing them on my own, let alone teaching a student how to do them. Alright, that's all guys. Talk to you next Wednesday. Bye.